and welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about and spotlight my favorite movies, mostly horror, and sometimes my favorite music, mostly metal. And I do have a fan blowing on me because I am in Florida and it's hot. So I suppose for these videos, I'm going to be looking like Leif Garrett or some other 70s angel, you know, David Cassidy or something, but it's not like that's not intentional, right? So, welcome back, and we are going to start off this little block of movies. I'm going back to my roots and spotlighting some independent horror that I really love and feel deserves some love and attention. And we are going to start with The Wretched. Yes, The Wretched. I love this movie. I did have it on DVD and I loved it so much it took me a while, but I managed to find it on Blu-ray and I wanted to upgrade it because I really like this movie. Now, The Wretched was released in 2019 and it was directed by Brett Pierce and Drew Pierce. It was written by Brett and Drew Pierce, brothers, husbands, I don't know. And it stars John Paul Howard, Pipey Curda, and Jamison Jones. Oh, what the hell is that? I don't know. So yes, this movie begins 35 years ago, where we see a babysitter walking into a house, obviously showing up for her job. She walks in and she cannot find anyone. She hears noises down in the basement. She goes down there, which is never a wise thing to do, where she finds the mother of the child, the little girl that she babysits, sitting in a chair and eating her. Yeah. She screams, turns around to run out, where the father then is at the top of the stairs, kind of looking like the stepfather poster, and slams the door on her, and you hear her screaming, so obviously she got ate too as well. So we flash 35 years into the future, where our star of the movie is a guy named Ben. Ben shows up. I guess he's like, 18, 19, something like that. He shows up, he's like first year of college or something like that. So he shows up for a visit with his dad, who lives in that same house, right? So he shows up for a visit with him. The kid, they don't really go into it much. It's not a big part of the story, but the kid obviously had some abuse issues with pills. So I'm assuming sort of like Lortab or something, pain pills. So, but it's not really a big part of the movie at all. I think there's just a couple of scenes where it causes them to be suspicious of him, but that's about it. Oh my God, these people. Anyway, so, this is going to throw me off. So his father, Liam, is the manager and kind of runs, if not owns, the local marina for the town. The port, the marina, where all of the people dock their boats and go out onto the lake and stuff like that. So, where is this set anyway? I don't really know. But I didn't pay attention. I should know, but I didn't pay attention. But, so, yeah, they kind of have a pretty good relationship. Now, one of the first things that they notice is the house next door. There is a woman and a man and a little boy. The little boy is, I don't know, probably about 8 or something like that. So he asks his dad who they are, but he doesn't really know. There is some strain, because of the pending divorce between his parents. So that's a little bit involved in the movie. So he, his dad takes him to work with him. He works on the dock where he meets this girl named Mallory, but it's not like romantic or anything. It's just someone to hang out with. So he kind of meets her, and she, like, you know, helps him into the local area. And he does start noticing, like, something weird with the people next door. The mother is acting, you know, rather strange. And we start seeing that, for instance, because they're just visitors too, right? And they go out, like, her and the boy get lost out in the woods. Dylan is his name, right? So they get lost out in the woods, and the mom is like, don't tell dad, you know. And he comes upon, when they get separated, he like comes upon this really weird tree that looks like it's got a big tree that's got this like cave at the bottom. And he hears his mother calling him to come down there, which, you know, well, that's weird, you know. And then she suddenly appears behind him. So you know something is up out here in these woods, right? As time goes on, we start seeing them in the house. There's something creeping around in the house. They have a baby monitor, and there's a really cool scene where I think it's probably one of the first times that you see this entity, and that is, it's sort of like a dryad is what this monster is. So, you see on the baby monitor, right, and you're watching the little baby in the crib, you know, in the crib, and you don't really notice it. It's really, the cinematography is that good that you don't really notice it, because she wakes up and she hears the baby, you know, being fussy. But then when she looks over there, he calms down and you don't see anything. But the camera stays on the baby monitor. And then all of a sudden you see these eyes, and there's some kind of like thing there. And it reaches its hand up, and you're like, okay, there's some shit going on now, right? Well, the next day they get up, the mother, she goes in there, and instead of because when she looks at the monitor and the baby's not there anymore, she goes in there, and there's a blanket, and she lifts up the blanket, and there's a bundle of sticks, you know, like branches, a little bundle of branches instead. And all of a sudden this thing grabs her from underneath this crib and pulls her under. So the next day, right, they get up, the husband gets up, and it's like he doesn't even notice that the baby is gone. Doesn't ask about it, doesn't notice that the baby is gone. He sees his wife, and she's like, goes, I'm going to go take a shower. And nothing is mentioned of the baby. He comes down, gives the boy a kiss, and goes off to work. And the boy is sitting there watching TV, and the mother is acting all creepy. And he goes upstairs, and she's like standing naked at the end of a hall, and she's doing this weird creaky thing with her body. And then she runs in there. So he gets scared, and he goes next door to Ben, you know, and tells Ben that he is scared of his mother. And the mother like shows up at the door and asks for him, and he's like, he's not here. And she then like really starts like going, bring him down and stuff like that. Luckily though, I mean, the confrontation really does start, and you think some shit's fixing to go down. But instead, the dad of that Dylan shows up, you know, and it's like, what's going on? And then the boy goes out freely to the dad. So, and I'm cutting a lot of this out, of course. But, so, Liam, his dad, Ben's dad, has also been dating this new woman, like, you know, named Zarah. So, he's dealing with all of this, while at the same time, he is being very creepy. And there's a lot of creepy scenes with this mother. She is obviously up to some really weird crap. As a matter of fact, you know, it didn't take me long to go, that's not even her, right? That's not her. That's this thing in her body. You know, sort of like a body snatcher. And they show scenes where she's like adjusting her skin and stuff. So she's like a dryad, like a witch dryad or something. So this baby's gone. Nobody seems to even realize. Nobody even seems to act like they even knew the baby existed. And finally, Ben, he's at work, and he had promised the boy that he would give him sailing lessons, boating lessons. Well, the boy doesn't show up, and he goes home to ask them, like, where's your son? Well, he asked the dad, and the dad is like, fuck off. What are you talking about? I don't have a son. And he's like, what do you mean you don't have a son? And so this is the part of the movie where you start realizing that not only is this creature obviously taking kids, obviously it feeds off of children, but so not only is it taking them, but it's bewitching them, right? It bewitches them. And it shows her bewitch I can't remember what the dad did, but she walked up to him and she like whispered some mumbo jumbo into his ears, and the second that he did, he like became like this automaton, and he had like blood coming out his ears, and so I guess that's the way that they bewitched him. But she also seems to have the ability to make people forget that their kids exist while she's stealing them, which is, I guess that would work out really well, right? I mean, if this creature wanted to come and take your kid, the best thing, one of its defense mechanisms is that you completely forget that you ever had one. So it's not like you think someone took your kid. So that's pretty creepy in and of itself. So the more this, goes on, Ben is like really watching them now, like spying on them and stuff, because he knows some serious crap is up. He manages to sneak into the basement, and he finds this weird altar-like thing. As you can imagine, it was a very Blair Witch kind of markings and stuff, and photos of families with certain people's eyes scratched out and stuff like that. So there's he definitely knows that something's going on. He tries to tell his dad, but that doesn't work because she calls the police, and tells the police that, so now the boy is in trouble for breaking into their house. The dad doesn't believe him because, well, oh no. What were you trying to do? Get drugs? Remember I told you that it was a very small part of the movie? But that was the scene in which, the dad, Liam, didn't believe him because he figured that he had broken into the house, because that's why his arm was broke. That's why he had been sent to him, is because he had broken into a house to get pills out of a bathroom cabinet, and had fallen out of a second-story window because he was so fucked up. So the dad is like, oh, well, you were broke into their house looking for pills. You're doing drugs again. And he's like, I swear I'm not. It's like, there's a demon thing going on here. And you want to talk about fucking lore tabs, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you kind of understand why the dad would think that. I mean, you're definitely going to believe a lore tab story over a demon story. You know what I'm saying? Especially since, like I said, nobody remembers these kids except for Ben. So Ben, the cops are going to take him down to the jail, and the dad is like, we are going to send you back to your mom because obviously you're not any good here. You need to go to a treatment facility or something. And on the way, though, you notice that the cop's ear is bleeding, and he was over there talking to them. So it's like, uh-oh. And the cop instead takes him out to the lake and tries to drown him. Unfortunately, she can't bewitch the canine, right? So the canine actually attacks the cop. Even though it's his canine, the canine obviously knew something was wrong with him, right? And even though a lot of cops don't know it, the canine knew that this was probably not a good thing for the cop to be doing, drowning a citizen. So the canine attacked him. This distracted him. Ben was able to get up and fought him a little bit, but the cop still had the gun, and he shot the dog, right? So he killed his own canine, which was terrible. That, plus, I guess, this whole interaction, the fighting and everything, it brought him a little bit out of his bewitchment. And he's, sitting there fisting to, it's a very tense scene, he's sitting there fisting to kill Ben, but instead, he killed his dog. He's trying to kill this citizen. This isn't really him. He knows something is wrong with himself, so he tops himself. And that's what saves Ben. So Ben now, he goes to the marina looking for Mallory, because Mallory has a little sister, and he had seen Mallory, that woman, taking Mallory's little sister into the woods. So he goes and he tries to tell her, and of course she's like, well, what are you talking about, dude? I don't have a sister. You know what I mean? So, this evil entity has definitely got some good defense mechanisms and some shit going on. So he can't really do anything about that, except to tell her that this is going on. He goes back to the house, though, and his dad, Liam, had started, I guess, reconsidering what he had been told. And he finally does break down and go, you know what? Just to be sure, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to check. Because, Ben had been telling him, I know y'all don't believe me, but check the basement. Check it out. So he goes over there to check it, and he does indeed find, like, the dad hanging, and he finds this bloody mess, and he finds this ritualistic tree thing, made out of tree branches and stuff, and he now knows his son was telling the truth. And he turns around to try to go out, and his girlfriend, Zarah, she has now been taken over. Because, see, one of the things that he found when he went up there was not only the dad hanging, but the woman, the mother. And she was, like, ripped all up in the front, right? What he didn't know, and what Ben had just figured out, because the other reason the cop was taking him away is because, I guess I forgot that part. The other reason the cop was taking him away was not only did he break into that house, but he tried to attack Zarah, his dad's girlfriend, because she's it. It's taken over her. And it tried to get him in the kitchen, and he threw salt on it, which, is like a witch thing, and it threw her off. And he cut her on the arm. So he's in a lot of trouble. That's the reason he was taken off. Well, Zarah, when the dad's over there and finds all this stuff, Zarah stabs him, like, badly. But he turns around and is fighting with her, and she is almost got him dead when Ben, who, you remember, got away from the cop, he shows up in the nick of time, blows a couple holes in her, gets his dad, and they're like, he like tells his dad, and Mallory comes, and it's like, take him to the hospital and stuff like that. But he leaves his dad in the truck because he sees that woman he sees that Zarah going into the woods. So he knows that Dylan and Lily are probably out there in that tree, that dryad tree. So he goes out there and he finds that tree, and he has Mallory hold a rope while he goes down in there. So even though she doesn't really fully believe she had a sister, she does believe him because of the shit she just saw. So he goes down in there, and I don't know who the kid she was eating, but he found her eating a kid. And he also found Dylan. I was glad to see that he was still alive, but he's tied up with roots, And then he found her sister, Lily, was also tied up with roots. And then he finds another kid. And when he sees this kid, you're like, oh shit, well that's a twist. Because all of these memories flash into his eyes. He did not come there alone. he had a little brother named Nathan that this witch had already taken out into the woods, and him and his dad had completely forgot about his own little brother. And when he saw him tied up in those roots, that's when he knew, because all the memories came back when he saw him, just like it did with Mallory when she saw her little sister. So he rescued his little brother, and they get out. Now, that witch is coming hard after him, yeah? And he had brought like all of this salt to keep her from getting away from the tree. He had brought a bunch of gasoline to burn the tree up. And he had brought the rope and the lighter, the torch and everything to do that. And so he gets those kids out, and then he starts getting out. The witch starts coming out right behind him. He barely gets out, and then it looks as though the witch is fixing to get them, but the dad, Liam, comes driving his Jeep and just slams into the witch and the tree, which then blows the tree up. The dad gets out, the tree starts on fire, and then they all, are like rescued. Everything's cool. So the next day, the mom comes and gets Nathan and Liam and Ben, and they're all going to leave. And he stops by to say goodbye to Mallory, and they have their little goodbye. And then that's when you see Mallory go out on the boat with these 3 or 4 kids. And she goes out there, and she had a flower in her hair, and she had put the flower into Ben's hair, and he got in the truck and left. So he took that. So you're seeing this sort of flashing between these two images, her going out there on the boat with these kids, and him, being not, happy that they're leaving and everything worked out with his little brother and stuff. And he rescued these kids. But then he takes the flower out, and he notices that the flower is artificial, like a silk flower instead of a real one. And you see her out on the boat with those kids, and those kids have some flowers, and the flowers have wilted, went rotten, and that's a sign of the witch. Like whenever she was around, all the flowers would die. So they end with the close-up zooming in on Mallory's face, and you can, it doesn't tell you, but, it's like, is she or isn't she the new witch? You know what I'm saying? And then that's when the movie ends. Now, like I said, I really, really like this movie. I really like the actors that are in it. Great acting. The witch looks really, really scary. It's all practical. There's no CGI in this movie. It's all practical. The witch is really good makeup. The kills were gross. When she's like taking over the body, there was some gross shit in this movie because, usually there are with body snatchers, you know what I'm saying? Going in or coming out the body. So it's definitely a hard R. It's a rated R. It's definitely a hard R. There is some nice kill stuff. The witch is like really scary looking. And it's got some gross scenes in it. It's a really good little horror movie. If you've never heard of The Wretched, it is IFC Midnight. But if you've never heard of The Wretched, it's from a good horror company. And they did a really good job with this little indie movie. And great cast. Loved it. Gave it a 8 out of 10. To me, it's very exciting. I like, of course, it's always nice when the stars are attractive. So it's good eye candy to look at. So I was very, very happy with this entire movie. And that, friends and foes, is The Wretched from 2019. Definitely a movie worth having in your horror collection. Highly enjoy it. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. As I said, your name is Rusty. I'm glad you're here. And I will see you in the next thing I do. Bye-bye.